Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to this afternoon student webinar on careers in auto and diesel mechanics. My name is Anthony Melf, and I work as a project coordinator with the PA CareerLink in Luzerne and Schuylkill counties. We are very proud of our partnership with Wilkes-Barre Area Career and Technical Center, and we value very much supporting students at the Career Technical Center getting real-world professional experience to support them not only in their education, but in their careers thereafter. And we're very excited for today's webinar where we get to hear from a couple of graduates about their real world experiences based on questions submitted from the students. But before we do, we'd like to hear from Dr. Tony Gariglia, the Chief Administrative Officer from Wilkes-Barre Area Career Technical Center. Tony, take it away.
Anthony, thank you. I'll speak very briefly. I want to thank both Alex and Joe for being available today to answer some questions from our students. This is all about you seeing students, what you can do, and two very successful individuals that can help show you that it's possible for anyone. Michelle, thank you also for the Chamber for supporting us. Anthony, as always, thank you. And also thank you to our teachers and our support staff that are making it possible for our students to be involved. Please enjoy the experience. I also will turn off my camera. This is about you guys. So I appreciate your time and I will listen, and I'm encouraged to hear what I hope to be an excellent session. Thank you.
Thank you so very much, Dr. Gariglia. We appreciate your support as always. And also a great shout out to Michelle McKinnish with the Greater Pittston Chamber of Commerce, an invaluable partner in our area supporting students and careers locally here at home. With that being said, I'd like to introduce our panelists for this afternoon session. First up, we have Alex Swan, who is a heavy equipment technician at New Enterprise Stone and Lime Company, Inc., Laughlin, Quarry, and Blacktop. Alex, if you would just share a few words on what you do at New Enterprise and when you graduated from Wilkes-Barre Area CTC, and then we'll move on to Joe.
Yeah, I graduated in 2013, and then I went to Penn Tech for 3 years, and then I got out of there and went to work for Komatsu for 4 years. Then after that, I came here to New Enterprise, where I've been for a little over a year now, and I love it there. I'm the quarry technician. I'm the one who works on the machines that are down in the pit, whether it be haul trucks, loaders, excavators, dozers. So I take care of the quarry basically, and then we have another guy for the paving side. But all of us do all of it there. Every piece of machinery and truck we have, we all work on it, and it's pretty great.
Thank you, Alex. So good to have you with us. Up next, we have Joe Fowler, the maintenance supervisor with Penske Truck and Leasing. Joe, if you want to share a few words about what you do, where you work, and when you graduated from Wilkes-Barre area.
Hi, how you doing? Graduated 2010 from Mr. Bartoli. When I left with him, I went up to some heavy construction equipment, and then I moved to Penske Truck Leasing, where we work on pretty much all the newest trucks that you can get to. And it's great there that they train you and whatever you may need, help you with any certifications that you may possibly need to get.
Excellent, Joe, thanks so much. With that said, we'll jump into some questions that were previously submitted by students at Wilkes-Barre Area Career and Technical Center. I also want to welcome everyone watching from school or from home. In addition to the questions that we'll be asking Alex and Joe, if you have any additional questions, please submit them using the chat feature at the bottom of your screen. So just to kick things off, Alex, if you would start with us, you shared a little bit about your career journey. Can you specifically speak to how old you were when you started and how you got hired in your current role? And now that you're in that role, what do you do to ensure you're successful at your job?
Well, it was after I graduated, I went to Penn Tech, and it was mostly Alan Bartoli who pushed me to go to Penn Tech. And then after I graduated from there, there was Mid-Atlantic Machinery, who was the Komatsu dealer in the area. And I talked to them at the career fair a few times at Penn College. And then I went and interviewed there. And I actually worked at a John Deere dealership during college. And that was just, I didn't get paid very well. It was kind of just an internship kind of thing. But then after that, I went to Komatsu when I graduated, and I was there for the last 4 years. And 2 of those years, I was a field technician where I was in a service truck driving to coal mines and all over the place. And then from there, I just kind of didn't want to do the service truck anymore. I bought a house and got married, so I kind of wanted to stay in the area more often. So I ended up just leaving that job and going to New Enterprise now, where I just stay in the quarry mostly. And I mean, I couldn't do anything else really. This is all I was ever able to do.
You sound very good
Mm.
at it. And I believe you had shared with me that you graduated back in 2013. Is that correct? So in an 8-year span, already quite a career.
Yeah.
Excellent. Joe, if I may ask you the same question, how old were you when you got started? How did you get into your current role? Any tips on how you've been successful in this career path?
I was in this career before I even left high school. Always hands-on, just doing what I like to do. Like I said, I did heavy equipment for a while, just being on the road and all that. That takes a toll on just anybody. Finally got a job with Penske, actually through my brother, and I just started off as a Tech 3 there, doing basic oil changes and that, and just kept working my way up until where I am now.
Great, building on that high school experience. And then you mentioned your brother, and I think that's important for students listening, that your network, whether it's people in your family, your friends, people in your community, when you are confident in what you do and you put out there what you're doing, people may be able to help you identify those job leads. So thanks for sharing that. For many students that we work with at the Career Link at the Career and Technical Center, they are in the co-op experience program. And if Alex, if you could share, did you do a co-op experience during your time at Wilkes-Barre Area CTC, and what did you learn from that experience?
Yeah, actually, I forgot to mention that when I was 17 or 18, I think I was more 18, but I went to co-op to work at Commonwealth Equipment, which kind of jumped me into the equipment side of everything and really got me into that more so over the trucks. And then so yeah, basically and then when I was 16, I was just working on my own truck. So really 18 is when I started in the equipment field, and I've just been there ever since, almost 10 years now.
Great, thank you. And Joe, if you could comment, did you participate in a co-op experience while you were at Wilkes-Barre CTC, and what did you learn from it?
Actually, I did not. I actually ended up getting sick when I was actually in high school, and I was actually trained in books by Bartoli for past 2 years of high school.
I appreciate you sharing that. I think that's also important. While co-op experiences are certainly very valuable, that there's not one way to pursue the career, right? You both have different backgrounds, and way to overcome a difficult circumstance and take that book work that you did, and it did transition successfully into a career. So thank you for sharing that. And Joe, if I may keep you on for a moment, what are some entry-level type positions at Penske, and are there any basic requirements such as a driver's license or specific skills to be considered?
As long as you have a driver's license and pass a DOT physical, that's the base minimum that you need to actually get applied there. You can start off as what we call a CSR, and that's where you wash the trucks, fuel the trucks, basically do just a walk around, make sure it's all DOT legal, and we'll train anybody on that. Then we have Tech 3s, to where you're PM certified. You could just basically state inspect the truck and make sure it's roadworthy and do minor repairs. Then with a CDL, you become a Tech 2, and you actually get more in-depth repairs. And then we also have Tech 1, which is you need a CDL, state inspection license, emission license, and we actually rebuild engines on some of the newest equipment.
Thanks for sharing that, and especially the breakdown, like where you can start, and with additional education, you could be considered for some promotions within. So I think that's really helpful. Alex, at New Enterprise, can you comment on entry-level opportunities and any specific requirements?
Yeah, I mean, really the requirements in this business are all going to be the same as Joe said. You're going to need the DOT physical and a license to pretty much do any job. But I mean, other than that, you can start off, we would do whether it would be called a yard guy or just a shop helper, just somebody to help out with little things on trucks and equipment. And then we would kind of just bring you in, and then I would take it down the quarry with me, help you out, stuff like that. We would teach on the equipment. And then definitely if you came in with more experience, you would start off way higher. But just to start right off, if you would just doing little things like lights, oil changes, wipers, all little stuff like that. But then you can just progressively work your way all the way up.
And Alex, if I may keep you on for a moment, another question our students are asking, which I think is fair as they consider their career paths, what should someone upon graduating expect as like a starting salary, like a range, and what is the earning potential in this line of work?
Well, really, starting salary, you're looking, depending on your skill set, the amount of tools you already have and what you already can do, then I mean, you can be anywhere from lower end, early teens, lower teens, and then I mean, there's really no cap. You could, if you're in this business long enough, you can name your own price after a while. I mean, it's really nothing to turn down a 20-something an hour job.
Thank you. I know that's of particular interest to our students. And Joe, if you have anything to add, feel free. Another question kind of related as students are considering their choices upon graduation, can you also comment on, Joe, any types of tools that are required at the start of employment? For example, wrenches, socket sets, screwdriver sets, etc.
For Penske, you just need pretty much just the basics, like all the way up to maybe like an inch, standard screwdrivers and all that. Other than that, we supply almost everything that you may possibly need to do the job properly and to keep you safe with some of the high technical tools.
Thank you for that. And Alex, for enterprises, it's similar in terms of, what you would be required to have at start?
Yeah, I mean, you really just collect as you go, no matter what. But to start off, you would need same thing, pretty much up to an inch, maybe a little bit bigger, and then maybe a 3/4 socket set if you're going to be on the equipment side, 3/4, 1 inch, stuff like that. But as long as you have maybe a 1/2 inch impact, will help you out too. But I mean, once again, you're going to be collecting all that as the years go anyway.
Great. And for Alex and Joe, and thank you, Ryan, a question that came in through the chat. Can you provide any estimates on how much students should expect to spend on their tools upon graduating? And that actually, did you find yourself spending a lot? And was there any debt incurred because of that? Any insight on that would be helpful.
Yeah, I'd like to chime in on that one. Tools, the tools do not make the technician. You do. These tools are really expensive. If you step on with some of these Snap-on and Mako trucks, and yes, I have stepped on them, and yes, I'm still paying. But no, like just a basic start, you're looking at maybe like $500, and that's with a decent sized toolbox. Don't blow all your money. Don't blow your paychecks on these tools. It's not what makes the job, it's you.
Really excellent advice. And I hope the students really heard you on that one. It's not the tools that make the technician. Alex, any other thoughts?
I would definitely agree. And I also have had my issues with Snap-on too. I mean, I have a $14,000 toolbox, so that'll kind of do it for you. So I've also accrued a bit of debt just with Snap-on alone. But I mean, it really is you that makes it. You don't need a $500 wrench set just to be out and to go out and do the same thing as a guy who has a Harbor Freight wrench set. It's really going to be the same thing.
Thank you for that. Joe, can you comment at Penske on the type of employee they're looking to hire, the type of technician? What kind of worker is desirable at Penske?
Really, we look for anybody. We're actually going to be in contact with the school to see if we could actually start a co-op, because we are looking for employees. We are looking to teach, but like we start you off to where you're kind of comfortable. If you're not ready to step on the field and start actually digging deep into these trucks, you can start off small by starting as the CSR, washing the trucks and doing minor repairs, lights, tires, and things like that. And we'll train you as you get comfortable, and you could exceed from there.
Excellent. Thank you for that, and exciting prospects for a future partnership with the school, and maybe some students will be able to work with you. Alex, if you could also comment in your experience at New Enterprise for what they look for in a new employee.
Yeah, it's really as long as you're willing and you're ready to work the hours, because I mean, there's a lot of overtime that comes into this job. And as long as you're willing to do all that kind of stuff and you're going to work hard and do things right, then we'd be looking for you.
Alex, our next question from one of our students, you kind of touched on earlier in a way. You had mentioned that you don't really, I think, and correct me if I misquote you here, you don't really like working on trucks. You're more of an equipment person. One of our students asked, why are some vehicles harder to work on than others? What are your thoughts and experiences like in regards to that?
Definitely ease of access. With trucks, you can have a lot of things that are, I mean, if we go between a truck and an excavator, you open the hood and you're standing on top of the engine looking down on it. And then with a truck, you open the hood and you have to be walking around it constantly. Or when you do get on top of it, you have different panels and all this kind of stuff you have to take off. But I mean, then also wheel loaders, it only opens from the side. You have to take panels off to get on top. So everything's different no matter what it is. Even cars too, you open a hood of a car and then you can't even fit your hand on the side of the engine of some of them.
Joe, do you have anything to add in your experience working on different vehicles?
It kind of goes back to when I was at Gene School, and Bartolo always used to say, you're not a Cummins tech, you're not a Detroit tech, you're a diesel technician. You're going to work on everything because that's what you're here for.
Well said. I'm sure you made Mr. Bartoli proud with that response. Joe, if you could comment on, after getting started in the field, if you did have to further your education, such as, by getting additional certifications, you had mentioned earlier in the tiered positions where if you have a CDL, you can get to a Tech 2 and so forth. Do you know in your own experience or people you work with, if they did further their education after starting employment, did the company help offset the cost of that furthering of education? Is there any benefits like that at Penske?
Yes, if you actually choose to go out to school, we would help assist and help pay for that. But they also, Penske has their own thing to where they we're actually work hands-on with dealers, and they supply us actually with certificates. So I did Detroit, and I also did Cummins certifications, and I got all that for absolutely free on the clock. So I got paid to do it. So it's rather simple, and it's got to put effort into it.
Very good. Thank you. That's really good to know at Penske. And Alex, at New Enterprise, can you comment on, what is offered or available to new employees there in terms of furthering their education?
We don't, with us not being a distributor, we don't really have specific things that we would send you to school for. It's really more of just we train you on the job as it is. Now, I mean, if you go where I worked at Komatsu for the last 4 years, I mean, I was in New Jersey for training every other week almost, whether it be engines, hydraulics, electrical. So if you're on a dealer side, then there's definitely, they want to make sure that you're top of the line with everything. But as far as like the quarry goes, or if you're on a little towing company or something like that, it's going to be a little different than on the dealership side of it.
Great. And we did have a question come through the chat, which I appreciate. Thank you, Ryan. And I encourage others to do the same if thoughts come to you during the session. And in your experience, Alex, did you pick your co-op or was it assigned to you when you were in school?
I didn't pick it, but I was asked if I wanted it. And it was just, they're looking for people right now, they're hiring, and they know that I was interested. So they just asked me, and it was on the equipment side, so that interested me. So I just took that one, but I did not pick it. I'd assume you can probably for different companies, but for me, I did not.
Thank you for that. And Ryan, I'll defer you to your instructor to discuss placement, but definitely good that you're thinking about it. And I'm sure your instructor can give you more specifics on options and how to proceed with placement at a work site. So thank you for that question. Moving right along. Joe, if you could comment, um, how long should a new hire expect to work as an apprentice, or is there opportunities to come on in that more trainee role before they're actually out working on their own? So depending on how it's set up at Penske, some students were wondering, do you work under someone for a while and then do you get a chance to go out on your own? And what does that process look like?
Um, Typically, like we have a couple new hires now, and they're just about to branch off and work on their own. But theoretically, you're never really alone. There's always somebody around. That's part of my job. I go around teaching them how to change things and do things safely. But maybe it's just about like 3 weeks until you get what we call PM certifications, and that's where you can actually basically go and do a federal inspection on a truck.
Thank you for that. Alex, in your experience, how does it work in New Enterprise in terms of an apprentice or trainee working? What's that transition like when you're working on your own?
It depends on where you come in at, what level of a technician you already are and what you know, but it's really going to be, you'd be helping people out. I mean, right now in the shop, there's only 3 of us. So it would be, you'd be helping out somebody, and then we would kind of just teach you as you go along. And then when we feel you're competent enough to be able to do your job without somebody having to stand there, then we have enough equipment and enough trucks to work on to where you would be alone at some point. But once again, we'd all be in the shop there too. So like Joe said, you're not really alone.
Excellent. It's reassuring to have that extra level of support and supervision, especially when you're getting started. So thanks for sharing that. And a follow-up question through the chat that we'd love to get your thoughts on. Joe, what made you decide to become a diesel technician? Was it a moment where you're like, I'm going to do this, or did it just kind of fall into place over time?
That would have definitely fell into place. Like when I got offered to go to tech, I had to choose from 4 different topics, and the class I originally wanted to go to was actually full up, and I got sent over to Miss Bartoli, and I just loved it ever since.
Great. And Alex, same question to you. Did you fall into it? Is it something you had that moment where you're like, I'm going to do this?
Yeah, same thing. Definitely just fell right into it. I remember I went for my orientation there, and I was looking at going for carpentry. And then I actually walked into the diesel shop. I kind of liked that. And then I decided I would give that a shot. And then I went in there not even knowing what a turbo was or what it looked like, to graduate and then going to college. And now here we are. So it definitely just fell right into place.
And Alex, if I may go back to you for a moment, can you describe an experience in your career thus far that stands out as being maybe the one that you learned the most from? And if so, what was that situation and what was your takeaway?
Definitely learning the most from it would be when I was at Komatsu and I had to rebuild the transmission out of a D375 dozer, which is about the size of a D10 dozer. And I was supposed to be helped with it by the head guy there, who was actually the foreman, so he didn't really put time there for me. So it was basically, they just told me to go do it and gave me the book. And I just learned everything I had to rebuilding that just right from the book. And that's really just kind of made me a lot more competent. It made me a lot more, I would say, independent in the job, just being able to do that.
For sure, definitely learning hands-on, right? Jumping in and very, very much a confidence booster when you're able to figure it out on your own in a way. So thanks for sharing that. Joe, if I may turn to you, can you describe an experience where that stands out as where you learned, the most or a significant lesson, and what was that?
That's kind of hard to just put on one day. Every day you learn something new. You come across different problems constantly, between if it's electrical or not. But I really can't say just one particular time. Every day is just a learning curve.
That's well said. Yeah, always an opportunity to learn on the job day by day. So thank you for that, Joe. Another question that came in from our students, is there a union at your shop or company? Is there any information you can provide on that? Alex, you first.
At New Enterprise, we have a union in a couple of our locations, but not the Laughlin location. Although at Komatsu, there was a union there. I was a member of the Operating Engineers 542 there for 4 years. And I still am. I still pay my dues. just until I hit my 5-year mark, and then I'm going to take my withdrawal card. But as far as New Enterprise goes, it is out west more, not right here in this location.
Good to know. Joe, any thoughts on that?
We have a handful of shops that are union. We are not union. You mentioned union. That's like a curse word there. So it's kind of a hush hush.
We appreciate your insight nonetheless, and I'm sure our students do too. And it's good to hear that it may look different depending on where you work, and it may be discussed differently depending on where you work. So it's good for them to know as they enter the workforce full time. Joe, does your company promote from within? I think this is a question you really kind of discussed earlier in sharing kind of those different levels with certifications and experience, but could you maybe describe in a little bit more detail what maybe an expected timeline for that type of promotion would be? And if there is any details that we didn't discuss earlier in terms of promotion from within?
Yes, we do promote within, and we also hire tech ones right off the street, depending on the credentials that they have. Job openings, CSRs could get promoted rather quickly. Tech 3s could get promoted rather quickly. We do have a limit on like tech 1s per shift, but it's on your effort on how fast you want to actually accomplish all your task goals, and you get promoted rather quickly.
Great, thank you very much. Alex, can you describe at New Enterprise opportunities for being promoted within if you do, and what does that look like, and any thoughts on the timeline?
Yeah, actually, we have a younger technician with us. He just went to Wyatech, and then he came back, and he was only there for maybe a year. And then the big boss came out and just said, "Hey, we like the job you're doing, so we're going to give you an extra $5 an hour." And then I mean, it really just happens like that. If you keep doing your good job and you prove yourself, and they're just going to start throwing money at you, and you're going to be promoted left and right until someday you're the service manager.
Excellent. It's good to know. I think that is very important, especially as students are identifying which companies they want to work for, knowing that there's opportunities beyond the initial entry-level position. So thank you both for sharing that. As we turn the corner and we get into our last couple of questions for the afternoon, I just want to remind everyone in attendance that if you do have any questions, that I'd love for you to type those into the chat. Mr. Bartoli, I'm going to see if we can bring you on to share your thoughts. One moment, and we'll have you come in for your thoughts. Go ahead, Mr. Bartoli. I believe you can speak now.
I would just like to say how proud I am of these two guys. And I'll tell you what makes this job gratifying. I was looking for technicians for years. You couldn't find them. That's when I decided to teach. But when you come full circle, and these gentlemen will tell you, they'll call me with a question. And when they're on the phone, I'll ask them a question. I'll run into a problem. They're out there, they're on the newest stuff every day. And what makes, my life worthwhile is knowing that the full circle happens with these guys. And there is a list 17 years long with gentlemen just like these two individuals that are really successful. And, I'm very proud of you guys, and I appreciate what you're doing for us, talking to these kids here, because they're all firing questions left and right. So thank you very, very much. Okay.
Thank you so very much, Mr. Bartoli. Well said. And Alex and Joe, I hope you take that in. You deserve it. It's been a pleasure speaking with both of you, and very valuable for the students here. That being said, we'll move forward with our last couple of questions for the afternoon. However, I do want to remind everyone, if you do have a question, please enter it in the chat before we let Alex and Joe go. Alex, in your time at Wilkes-Barre Area CTC, if there's one thing that you wish you knew when you were a student that you know now, what would it be?
I would probably say I wish I started buying tools earlier. Definitely, because when I graduated, I had nothing, and then I didn't start getting tools until basically I realized what Snap-on was, and that's why my bill got so high so quick. Because when I started off, I basically started off buying all Snap-on. So definitely don't do that. That's really what I got to say about buying tools.
Sound advice, Alex. Joe, if I may ask, if there's one thing you know now that you wish you knew when you were a student, what would it be?
Well, it would have to be the after treatment side of these tractors. When I was in school, it was just starting to come out, and now it's out full bore, DEF, DOCs, and all that. It's just mind blowing, and a lot of stuff going on with that. It's pretty hard to comprehend sometimes.
Very wise words, sage advice for those still in school, maybe to pay extra attention as they, as while they can, to best prepare for their career opportunities. So thank you, Joe. And our last question, the time is flying by, but our last question for this afternoon, pending any additional inquiries through the chat. Alex, we'll start with you. One of our students had asked, is this a job that can bring inner pride and calmness? Does this job make you happy?
Inner pride, yes. Calmness, absolutely not. Really dependent on what you're doing. I mean, there's going to be days you're throwing wrenches across the shop and you're yelling at the guy next to you. No matter where you work, that's going to happen. But at the same time, you're also going to be rebuilding stuff, fixing stuff, and you're going to feel really good at the end of the day about it. When you see it drive away or you see that machine go and dig in the pit again, and you're going to know that you're the one who put that back to work, then yeah, it definitely is fulfilling.
Excellent response. A lot of pride there. Joe, if I may ask, does this job bring you inner pride, calmness? Does it make you happy?
I'm gonna have to agree with Alex on that one. Same thing. It does have its moments, but when you actually get to see your truck fire up after rebuilding the engine, it is very gratifying.
Gentlemen, it's been a true pleasure meeting you this afternoon. I really enjoyed hearing about your experiences as someone who's not as knowledgeable about auto and diesel mechanics. Learning from two professionals, I could hear, how wise you are in your years of experience. And I have no doubt that the students that are studying this and hope to fulfill their careers in this industry, that your insights will prove very helpful to them as they take these next steps. And you heard it better from, than anyone from Mr. Bartoli, who was able to share his thoughts and kind words before. Alex, Joe, it's been a true pleasure. For those tuning in, whether you're at school at Wilkes-Barre Area CTC, I hope you enjoyed this afternoon's student webinar. If you're tuning in from home, thank you for joining us. A recorded version of today's discussion will be posted on the Wilkes-Barre Area CTC site in the near future. I thank you and wish all of you the very best as you continue on your educational journey and begin your careers. Thanks everyone so much. Take care. Have a good day.